shopping for plants is sort of like buying art, in the sense that like you might have an idea of what you want, but once you see it in person, something else might call your name. It's very much an emotional purchase for a lot of people.
Well, I think the first step is to choose a plant that you can keep alive. And that depends on the conditions of your windowsill and your light situation.
So we sort of categorize plants in 3 different main sort of categories. So one is like lower to medium light, bright but indirect light. And then if you're lucky, you can deal with the bright light plants.
Natural sunlight is food for your plants, so you just need to know what you're able to give.
Some plants grow up bright, so they're just gonna keep getting taller.
And that would be something like birds of paradise if you have really good sunlight.
And then some plants tend to vine and grow down.
And we call them trailers, they just drape down.
Cactus usually come in 2 general flavors. One is a columnar plant. That's something that grows very tall and towards the sun gets very fat. Then there are smaller globose plants that oftentimes are adapted to grow in the shade of a rock or behind a bush.
Our most in-demand plants on the smaller side, Pileas are super popular, the pothos, and the philodendrons. Some of the more popular medium-sized plants, monsteras, cactus, snake plants, and parlor palms. In terms of the bigger guys are the fiddly fig tree and the birds of paradise. Whenever you are shopping planters, pick it up and see if there's a hole at the bottom. The #1 reason that plants tend to die is root rot, which happens when you overwater plants, when plants are sort of sitting, the roots are sort of sitting at the bottom of the water.
Pots kind of like vases, like there's no drainage holes, which may be just for aesthetic purposes, but you can get around that.
That will help put sort of rock and sand and stuff that will withhold water. But yeah, we absolutely recommend that any plant that you buy from our shop gets repotted in the next few months.
Just because normally when you get plants, they come in these plastic grow pots, and at the plant store, we have no idea how long that they've been in there.
It's been grown in that pot, the roots are sort of starting to grow in size, and they're probably ready to expand into a new planter.
And when you repot, we recommend going up 1 to 2 inches in diameter. So if you get what we say like a 4-inch plant, which is the diameter of the grow pot, then you want to go up to a 5 or 6-inch in diameter pot.
Once you've taken it home, you've given it some water, you've given it some love, be it once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month.
But the best way to figure that out, depending on the plant, is to test the soil with your fingers.
If it's starting to feel moist, then just sort of leave it alone, let it dry out a little bit. If it feels dry, then go ahead and give it some water, it might be thirsty.
So one thing that's important to know, desert plants, is most of them are special kind of plant that have a special kind of metabolism where they're only drinking water at night. In New York, they want more water than they want in most places because the winter is longer.
Play music like good juju, that's always like, it's not like proven, at least that I know of, maybe somewhere.
Everyone sort of seems to be naming and gendering their plants too, which is great. And yeah, sort of giving it a personality, just sort of like talking to it. I feel like a lot of people actually think that works, and that may or may not. But if it's working for you, then keep going. Our biggest don't is not to overwater. Again, it's like the most easy way to kill your plant. I think it's something that we sort of don't really think about. We think about it as like nurturing our plant, but most plants sort of don't want to be bombarded by water constantly.
Don't pour any liquids but water in your plant. I've heard some people just pouring whatever liquid. Plants only drink water.
I think another thing too is like, don't freak out. So if you notice that your plant is like starting to lose leaves, or it's starting to like not look super hot, but it's still sort of growing and thriving, then just like sort of leave it alone.
Do prune your plants. So if they have like dead leaves on them, that's super natural. And plants are gonna shed their old leaves, so normal. So just give them like a little haircut.
Another thing that I like to tell people to do is to put half a teaspoon of distilled white vinegar in their water when they water the plants. It prevents the salts that are in the city water from collecting on the roots, and your plants will also grow much faster.